What is up, everybody? Welcome to Pub Sports Radio and welcome to Stat Diggers for UFC Austin. We have a 13-fight card. We are back after a 1-week break. Really looking forward to being back. I am here, as always, with Uncle Weezy. Uncle Weezy, how's it feel to be back and talking some fights here? We have 3 cards left for 2023.
Yeah, man, we're into the home stretch here, and it's very exciting, because this UFC Austin card's got 13 fights, and there a lot of them are really good fights. And then next week, we got just a flaming dumpster fire that's just rolling downhill towards like a children's school, and it's really terrifying. But then after that, dude, really good pay-per-view card to end the year up with Leon Edwards squaring off against Colby Covington for the Welterweight Championship. So then we're going to have a month off, no UFC for 4 weeks. So we're in the home stretch. If you can't get excited about this card, maybe it's time to start watching curling or get into these winter sports, because this is a really good one here. I'm fired up to break it down with you, brother, because we got to stack cashed tickets like flapjacks this week. Keep the ball rolling like because we made some money last week too, or 2 weeks ago, at this point. But yeah, I'm ready to break it down, dude.
Yeah, me too. I'm so glad UFC's back, man. I'm sick of playing NFL. Whenever there's no UFC, I dabble into the NFL. Especially since it was Thanksgiving. I actually had success. I turned like a $5 parlay into $555 and then had a good day on DraftKings. But most of the time I do lose money on NFL. So I'm glad to be back talking some UFC here. And yeah, this card's solid. We did lose a couple fights. We lost the Roundtree fight, which, Roundtree's now going to be fighting Anthony Smith next week for the co-main event. That's going to be interesting. We lost Dan Hooker. I think broke his arm or something, but in steps Jalin Turner. So yeah, we're down to 13 fights. I think it's a pretty good card, and I'm definitely looking forward to getting right back into it here. And yeah, ending the year strong. 2 weeks ago, I had my 5th best night, went up, I think 5.8 units, courtesy of Peyton Talbot. Everybody knew he was finishing that guy in the 3rd round, and he went out there and did it. Weezy, I know you had a really good week as well. You had a big parlay hit, right?
Yeah, I had a 3-unit parlay hit, and it really wasn't the best bet, if I'm being honest with everybody. Mick Parkin's money line, he won, but he didn't look minus 300 by any stretch of the imagination. Michael Morales' money line, he won, but he didn't really look minus 250, and I had the over 1.5 rounds in the Talbot Aguirre fight. So, okay. I mean, it cashed. That was a 5.4 unit win. Lost 1 unit on the Charles Johnson money line. I really thought that he'd be able to stop takedowns against that kid. Boy, was I wrong. That guy, Charles Johnson, if he's not fighting for 5 rounds, he's just not very good, man. It just takes him too long to get going. He starts way too slow. And even with Esteban missing weight and looking miserable the day before, he still couldn't stop the takedowns and win minutes in that fight. So lost there. I had a couple of sprinkles that lost, but I did have the fight doesn't go to decision for Hooper versus Levitt. So that was a nice, easy hit there. Yeah, up like almost 5 units, like 4.62 units. So we're both coming off of really good weeks here, and we definitely got to keep it rolling this week. And I'd love to finish up this year on a 3-week winning streak here in these last 3 events.
Yep. 100% right there with you. Hopefully everybody enjoyed Thanksgiving. I know I did. I love, sitting there watching football all day. It's a fun time with family. Do you want to shout out the chat before we get started? We got Mushroom, first one in here. We got 6 more sleeps till UFC Austin. Going to be a great card. We got Jordan in the building. What is up, Jordan? We got There Will Be Blood. We got Ever Since Forever. We got Lou Sassel. We got Andrew in the chat. Kiwi. We got the MetaHuman Project. We got Glenbot in the building. We got Justin Villegas in the building. We got Bob Spikerman in the building as well. What is up, everybody? If you guys could, please do us a favor. Leave a like on the video. Subscribe here to Pub Sports Radio. We go live every Sunday, 7:15 p.m. Eastern Time. And with all that out of the way, Weezy, I say we get right into it. And let us start with the first fight on the card. We got Veronica Hardy going against Jamie Lynn Horth. We got Veronica Hardy, 28 years old, 5'4" with a 64-inch reach. Jamie Lynn Horth, she is 33 years old, 5'7" with a 67-inch reach. We got Veronica Hardy's going to be 5 years younger. She's going to be at a 3-inch height disadvantage and then a 3-inch reach disadvantage as well. Veronica Hardy, she is 2-3 in her last 5 fights. She had a loss to Andrea Lee by decision, a loss to Jillian Robertson by submission, a submission win against Polyana Viana, a decision loss against Bay Malecki, and then a decision win against Juliana Not a Killer Miller. As far as Jamie Lynn Horth, 5-0 in her last 5 fights. She is undefeated. She made her debut against Haley Cohen up a weight class at Bantamweight, and now she returns to the flyweight division. And man, I think this is a massive recency bias spot, man. Like Veronica Hardy, before the Killer Miller fight, not a Killer Miller fight, she was like 1-4 in the UFC. Like every performance was just piss poor, man. I mean, the Bay Malecki fight was just horrible to watch. Her one win came against Polyana Viana by like a first round 60-second armbar from guard type situation. And then she comes in against Juliana, not a Killer Miller. She was like plus 350, plus 350 in that fight. And now she goes from being a plus 350 dog against Juliana, not a Killer Miller, to a pick'em against Jamie Lynn Horth, who I think is pretty good. She's massive for the division. She's very physically strong. She's a solid striker, and I think that strength is one of her best assets. She is very, very strong in the clinch, and she can dictate where fights take place. So I kind of really like Jamie Lynn Horth here. I think it's a good recency bias spot here. I feel like Hardy's getting really overrated for her win against Juliana Miller, who, quite frankly, I'm not really convinced she's that great. So I kind of like Lynn Horth, but this line is moving in the opposite direction. It looked like this line might flip. So really interesting fight to kick off the card. Weezy, what are your thoughts on this one here?
Yeah, it's an interesting one because, like you said, we go from Hardy being on what? How long was that layoff before the Miller fight? 3 years?
A couple years.
4 years, something like that. Long layoff, and then she's fighting a very inexperienced Juliana Miller, who is just coming off winning the Ultimate Fighter and getting a win over what was her name? The girl from Guam, Brogan Walker, right?
Yep.
And like that was a weird one, Brady, because Brogan was way more experienced. Brogan was also a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. Brogan was the better striker. She had fought the better brand of competition. And that fight was about 50-50 going into fight day. And then, Miller just mops the floor with her. Absolutely just mops the floor with her. And then people are like, wow, Juliana Miller, she's only got 3 professional fights prior to that. She goes into the house. She improves a lot. She gets a win over a pretty good veteran from the regional scene there in Brogan Walker. And then it looked like, yeah, Miller's going to look good. And then she fights Hardy, who's on a 3 or 4 year layoff, right? And nobody really knew what to expect from Veronica Hardy. She's newly married to Dan Hardy now, training in Europe instead of, she's from Venezuela originally, but, she's done most of her training in Europe anyway. But yeah, so we didn't know what to expect. And then she went in there and she performed really well against Miller. And a lot of people were like, Miller looked terrible. Miller did what she did, Brady, because Miller's a submission grappler. So, yeah, she's going to get taken down. She doesn't care if you take her down. She wants to be on the mat. She wants to be throwing up submissions. But Hardy did a really good job of defending against all those submissions. And she was obviously going to be the better striker because Miller couldn't, hit the broadside of a barn. She couldn't hit water if she fell out of a boat. She's a pure grappler. But now you got Jamie Lynn Horth across the cage from Veronica Hardy. And Jamie's huge, man, huge. And she was matching up pretty good with the strength of Haley Cohen, who's one of the strongest women in any weight class in any division right now in the UFC. Really good athlete, really strong girl. So Jamie's going to be much bigger here. She's 3 inches taller. She's going to have a 3-inch reach advantage here. And while Hardy's more experienced at the UFC level and overall, while she's got that good Taekwondo background, while she's a pretty well-rounded mixed martial artist, Horth hits really hard for a flyweight. Horth has got really good back takes, Brady. And the thing is, I still feel like we need a little more information about Veronica Hardy. And I still feel like we need a little more information about Jamie Lynn Horth because nobody wants to fight Jamie Lynn Horth. She can't get fights. She even had to take her UFC debut up a weight class against a giant Haley Cohen because nobody wants to fight this girl at 125. With the missing information on both fighters, how does Hardy look against a much better opponent this time? How does Horth look having really only fought once recently? And it was a close fight against Haley Cohen. So, yeah, I'm leaning Horth here. I really do think that she's very good, Brady. She's kind of scary on the feet. She's got power. She's finished 2 fights with rear naked chokes. She's knocked out 3 different opponents, and her only win by decision was the win against Cohen. So I am leaning Horth here. I think a money line bet might be worth it. And I think she's going to win this fight.
Yeah, Kiwi says that Horth is training with Grasso and Loopy.
That's correct. Yes.
It really, because I went to the Instagram, all I saw was a picture with her and Malcolm Gordon. Is that true?
Well, I've heard other people say that all week. You know, like people have just been saying Horth has been training over at Lobo Gym. Now, I've got her listed at the Sound Martial Arts. Jamie Lynn Horth, of course, the fighting pride of Squamish, British Columbia, Canada. But don't forget, Loopy also trains up there, British Columbia, Canada, right? So I think that they've crossed paths before and they've trained before, and I've heard that Horth is down there training with them. But, you know, it still says the Sound Martial Arts on her Sherdog page.
This was 5 days ago at the WK or WK. I can't read WKX
Boxing Extreme Fitness. Okay.
And then this was 3 days ago with Malcolm Gordon, which I don't like that, to be honest.
Well, Malcolm's a good grappler, you know.
Yeah, that is, I'm just joking.
And I'll bet you he probably got knocked out 7 different times if he's in the ring with Horth, because I could see Horth just piecing up Gordon, man.
Just knocking him out.
You know, he couldn't take it, dude. He'd drop from a jab from Horth. She's got power, dude.
Yeah, she does. Interesting fight. Let's see. Where's this line at now? It's about a pick, and we have a lot of really close fights on this card. This is one of them. Jamie Lynn Horth opened up -175. She's currently -115, and then we currently have Veronica Hardy opening up +150. She's currently -105. So the line's coming in, and of course the over is, I think, the most juiced over on the card, -325 to the over 2.5, which is way too wide.
Yeah, that's really interesting because Jamie Lynn Horth has finished 5 of her 6 pro wins, and Veronica Hardy's been finished in 2 of her 4 losses. So maybe it might be worth taking a little shot on an under here, because Hardy's very dangerous with her submissions. She caught Polyana Viana in an armbar, and Horth's got great back takes and a lot of power on the feet. So that might be worth a shot, a little sprinkle.
Could be. What is up, Lou Betcha? Hopefully you had a great 30th birthday.
Yeah.
He's 30, right?
Doesn't look a day over 54 here. Happy 30th birthday to Lou Betcha there. It's a Thanksgiving baby. This year he was his birthday fell on Thanksgiving. That had to be a lot of fun.
That had to be some fun for sure. All right, let's move on to the next fight. Then we have Wellington Turman going against Jared Gooden. We got Wellington Turman, 27 years old, 6 foot with a 72-inch reach. We got Jared Gooden, 29 years old, 6 foot with a 77-inch reach. We got Wellington Turman 2 years younger. It's going to be same height there. And then Gooden with a massive 5-inch reach advantage. Wellington Turman is 2-3 in his last 5 fights. Knockout loss to Bruno Silva. Decision win against Sam Alvey. Submission win against Miesha Serkinov. Decision losses to Andre Petrosky and Randy Brown. As far as Jared Gooden, he is 1-4 in his last 5 fights. Decision loss to Aland Joban. Decision loss to Abubakar Nurmagomedov. A knockout win against Nicholas Stoltze. A decision loss to Randy Brown, and then a decision loss to Carlston Harris. First look, I thought this line is way too wide. And second look, I still think it's wide, but I'm just not. I don't think either guy's that great. Jared Gooden, I think he's going to have some advantages in here. I think he's going to be the guy with a big reach advantage here. I think that's huge. He's going to have a power advantage as well. I think he's the better striker. His takedown even to solid. Like, this feels like a something that Jared Gooden can go out here and win. But I don't know. I have a bad feeling about this fight here. Weezy, what are your thoughts on this one here?
Man, like Propaholic said it best. I saw when he was talking about that he had bet on Jared Gooden here, that he said, when does Wellington Turman look -250 against anybody?
Never.
And it's an excellent point. I mean, how do you get to -250 for Wellington Turman? Are you counting on him getting takedowns? Because he gets takedowns at a 19% clip in the UFC, and he's got 45% takedown defense. So, one of the things that I like to look at, Brady, is I like to look at how many takedowns a guy's gotten and how many he's given up, and how many he's attempted and how many his opponents have attempted against him, and then put it into the control time data to see if, like, for instance, Turman has attempted 47 takedowns in the UFC, but he's only had 20 attempted against him. So he's attempted about 70% of the takedowns, but yet he only wins 50% of the control time positions. So that means, like, A, he's not getting his takedowns at a good percentage. He gets them at 19%. B, it means that if you want to take Wellington down and put him on his back, it'll be easy to, because he'll probably fold like a lawn chair, so you can win minutes with takedowns against him because he doesn't mind being on his back. Shit, he got an armbar from guard win against Miesha Serkinov, who's a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So, Wellington likes to grapple, and he'll let you take him down. And then, if you're not holding guys down, or if you're too patient on your back going for submissions, then those grappling efficiency numbers aren't going to look very good. And they don't look good for Turman. Like Gooden, he's got 2 takedown attempts, and his opponents have attempted 19 against him. So you would expect that he's only winning 13.5% of the control time positions in his fights. Plus, he's going up against guys like Carlston Harris, Abu Nurmagomedov, Joban. He's going against some really good competition. He's fought the better guys overall. You add up the records of the guys that Turman has fought in the UFC, 47 wins, 46 losses. Add up the guys that Gooden's fought, 25 wins, 16 losses. So I think Gooden's faced a better brand of competition. I think Gooden's going to be the much more powerful striker. Guess what? He's more experienced overall. He's got 6 more fights and almost 100 more minutes of cage time in 1 less year as a pro fighter. So Jared's also been a very active fighter as well. And Jared's not even 30 yet. He's going to be turning 30 a couple days after the fight. So he, even though he's the older guy here, he's not much older, and both of these guys are in their prime. And Jared's going to have a 5-inch reach advantage here on the feet. And he's the better fucking finisher too. 17 finishes out of 22 for wins for Gooden, while it's 12 finishes out of 18 for Turman. So, man, I mean, like, I think Gooden's live to win this fight. I mean, where does Turman win the minutes here is my question.
Grappling, I guess, but like you said, he's not, the best wrestler. So I don't know how I kind of look at it is like this. Brava's saying here, neither guy is to be trusted. And I agree. I don't think either guy's that great. But one guy is minus 190 and one guy's plus 160, right? That's how I'm kind of looking at it. It's one of those plays where I might just plug my nose and take the dog shot here. I just don't think Turman should be minus 200 against anybody.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, and sometimes that's what you got to do. You're holding your nose, but you're playing the number. And I mean, is Wellington Turman 66%, 70% implied against any UFC welterweights right now? I mean, he's only 27 years old. He could still be making improvements. He's experienced. He's fought a lot of good guys, 8 UFC fights, almost 100 minutes in the cage, but he just isn't showing shit. He went out there, he went out there against Sam Alvey and barely beat him. I mean, he kept poking him in the eyes too. So you got to worry about this guy doing dumb shit and getting a point. You get a point deducted against Jared Gooden and get hit once clean. You probably at best are going to have a draw in that fight. So yeah, I think Gooden's the side here. I'm not enthusiastic about it, but I think the number's right.
Yeah, I had a bet on Sam Alvey actually, so I guess that probably means I should bet on Gooden here, right?
Oh, I did too, dude. We thought like, oh my God, Turman got 2 points deducted. We're gonna cash this Alvey bet. Nah, son, he lost every round and still couldn't win with 2 points deducted from his opponent. It was so bad, man. I felt so bad for betting Alvey. I mean, it wasn't the worst bet in the world, but it certainly wasn't a great one.
Yeah, that was not even a draw either. Like, come on. But
I know.
Yeah, so I think it's a dog or pass for me. The over under set at 2.5. The over 2.5 minus 141. The under 2.5 is plus 111. I'd kind of lean the under, but I think the most of the finishing upside's kind of on the good inside.
Yeah, I mean, Gooden's got a good finish rate, 77%. Turman 66%. Gooden's pretty durable. He's only been finished in 2 of his 9 losses. And for Turman, it's 2 of his 7 losses. So both these guys are fairly durable, and they're both solid finishers. I'm not really leaning one way or another here in terms of the time props, I would have to say.
Yep, right there with you. So, yeah, I think Gooden could be potentially a live dog. We'll see what happens there. All right, we'll move on to the next fight here. We got
Yay.
Uncle Weezy's favorite fighter, Ihor Potieria, going against Rodolfo Bellato. We got Bellato, 27 years old, 6'3" with a 75-inch reach. Potieria, he's 27 years old, 6'3" with a 75-inch reach. Same age there, same height, and same reach. Not the same skill level, though. We got Bellato. He is 4-1 in his last 5 fights. He made his Contender Series debut against that Murtaza Taha guy, who I think is a pretty good fighter. Went out there and just dominated him. I mean, the fight wasn't even close. Landed those calf kicks and just kind of broke him. So, yeah, incredible performance from Bellato. He did fight on the Contender Series prior to that, a couple fights ago against Vitor Petrino, and both of his knockout losses are to Vitor Petrino. So whenever this guy's losing, it's to Vitor Petrino. As far as Ihor Potieria, he made his debut against Nikolai Negamarianu, lost that fight by knockout. He beat Shogun by knockout, and then he gets knocked out by Carlos Ulberg in the first round. I think that was Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week as well. And I was actually watching that live, and it was very satisfying to see that bum get finished. Yeah, I mean, this feels kind of like Bellato all day here to me. I feel like Bellato is going to have the advantage in every single aspect of the game here. On the cage, I think Bellato is very good, and I think he can have some success against the cage there. He mixes up the knees, the elbows, and he's relentless in the clinch there. And then on the ground, I mean, I don't think it's even close. I think that Bellato is going to, Eagles 59-yard field goal to send it to overtime. That sucks. Yeah, anyway, yeah, I think Bellato smashes here. I think he does whatever he wants. At range is kind of would be my only worry for Bellato, just because he has been knocked out twice. But outside of like a Hail Mary knockout from Potieria, I think Bellato gets it done. Weezy, what are your thoughts on this fight here?
Yeah, I mean, I think Bellato kicks this guy's ass up and down the cage pretty much. I mean, they're both the same size, same height, same reach. They're both 27 years old. So as much shit as I like to give Potieria, I mean, he's got 23 fights. He's only 27. We could see this kid making improvements. Why not? But we just haven't seen much, right? And like, I was even surprised to see him fighting Ulberg. I thought that he would have been thrown in jail in Brazil for that horrific elder abuse that he committed against the great Shogun Rua. Who let Shogun Rua in a cage at that point? That was hard to watch, dude. That was really hard to watch because Shogun, remember that one clip of Shogun trying to dribble a soccer ball? He was juggling a soccer ball and then he fell down into the green screen that he was juggling the ball in front of, and just like he knocked over all the equipment in the room. That was like fight week against Potieria, and it was like, come on, Mauricio, you're done, dude. You've been done for a very long time. And the UFC put him out there one more time. And they said, look, you got one fight left, Mauricio, and we're going to give you the biggest bum on the roster in front of your home crowd so that you can go out a winner. And yeah, they even gave him Potieria, and he still couldn't get the job done. So I think Bellato is going to kick Ihor's calf, but they are different stances. Ihor is a southpaw, so Bellato is orthodox. So, I mean, I think it might be a little bit more difficult for him to get those calf kicks. But Bellato is a Nogueira Brothers, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu prodigy. The guy is good on the ground, very good. Like you said, 2 losses in his career, both of them to Vitor Petrino. And Vitor Petrino is a problem, dude. That dude's got crazy power on the feet. He can get takedowns, and somehow, bricked up with muscle at his size, he can go a full 15 minutes wrestling. I don't know what kind of supplements that guy is on, but they are the best. And I would suggest anybody who's looking to improve their performance, look into who Vitor Petrino's doctor is and see if you can get an appointment there. So that's the only guy that's beaten Bellato here. So, I mean, I think Ihor Potieria is going to get his ass shaved. I think it's going to be clean, probably a first or second round submission. And yeah, I mean, I just don't think that this guy's grappling game is anywhere near where it needs to be in order to last on the ground with a monster like Rodolfo Bellato.
Yep. When I first saw the matchup, I just laughed because I mean it's pretty clear what the UFC is doing. They're trying to get Bellato a nice highlight reel finish here, and the line does indicate that Bellato opened up minus 300. He's currently minus 450. Pateria, he opened up plus 250. He's currently plus 350. The over under set at 1.5 rounds. The over 1.5 plus 155. The under 1.5 is minus 185. Yeah, nothing really sticking out here for me. I mean, I like Bellato to win, but I don't really want to lay minus 450 on him. And then I like the under kind of, but nowhere near minus 185. Like I could see this getting extended a little bit because I kind of feel like Bellato's going to be pushing him against the cage, taking him down, kind of wearing on him, kind of breaking him. So I'm kind of leaning like late second round finish. So I'm not touching the over under, not touching the money line. Might just sit back and watch this one, or maybe look at like a Bellato submission prop or knockout prop, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, minus 185 for an under 1.5 is juice to the tits, Brady. So no thanks. But am I also taking the plus 155 in a Ihor Paterier fight where I think there's a good chance he gets his ass shaved in a minute? Hell no. So yeah, it's just I've been priced out here. I think Bellato wins. I think he wins in under 1.5, but I don't know how the hell to make money off of it, right? Because 450 on Bellato's money line, minus 185 on the under 1.5. I think it's an obvious result with not a great way to bet it.
Yep. Might just be a good one to pass on, but I'm sure Bellato is going to be a popular parlay piece this week, and I can't hate on it too much. I think he should roll. All right, we'll move on to the next fight then. We got Steve Garcia going against Mel Costa. We got Steve Garcia, 31 years old, 6 foot with a 75-inch reach. We got Mel Costa, 27 years old, 5'10" with a 71-inch reach. Costa, he's 4 years younger. He's going to be at a 2-inch height disadvantage and a 4-inch reach disadvantage. Steve Garcia is 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Decision loss to Luis Pena, a knockout win against Charlie Ontiveros, a knockout loss to Mahashate, a knockout win against Chase Hooper and Nurden Beke. As far as Mel Costa, he made his debut against Thiago Moises on short notice, lost that fight by submission, and then went out there and beat the brakes off of Austin Lingo across 3 rounds. So, yeah, I think this is going to be a banger. I'm kind of shocked it's this low down on the card. I think these guys are 2 guys that want to go out there and do the same exact thing, which is going to be kind of stand and bang, especially Steve Garcia. Steve Garcia, I've never seen a boring Steve Garcia fight outside the Luis Pena fight where Pena took this guy down and controlled him for like 14 and a half minutes. Other than that, Steve Garcia is, eating one to giving one. He's been dropped 5 times in the UFC, 5 times in 5 fights, which is a very, very concerning. So I don't think he has the best durability. I remember Charlie Ontiveros dropped this guy like 2 or 3 times. It was ridiculous. But yeah, Steve Garcia, I actually like this guy quite a bit, but I think I like Mel Costa even more. Mel Costa's striking is incredible. And, Steve Garcia is probably not going to take this guy down. And if he doesn't, I see Costa potentially knocking out Steve Garcia. Steve Garcia dropped against Nurden Beke, knocked out against Mahashate, dropped twice against Charlie Ontiveros. Like, I don't think he has the best chin. So I kind of like Mel Costa here to get the knockout win. And I kind of like an under as well, potentially. Weezy, what are your thoughts on this matchup? But I think this is going to be a potential fight of the night here.
Yeah, I mean, I remember betting the over in the Mahashate Garcia fight. Over 2.5, I think, Brady.
Oh,
So you can't really miss by much more than that, and that's the thing about these Garcia fights. Like you say, even when he's knocking dudes out, sometimes he's the one getting dropped first. He kind of gets into a war. He's huge for the division, Brady. This guy was cutting down to 135 at a couple different points in his career at 6 foot with a 75-inch reach. So one of the things that we do absolutely need to be aware of, Brady, is that Steve Garcia might miss weight. He might have a horrible weight cut here because he's done it so many times. He missed weight on the Contender Series. Then his first fight in the UFC, I believe he missed weight at 145. Or it might, I think it was like the fight after the Contender Series because he didn't get the contract because he missed weight. Then he went and he fought Mariscal in LFA, Chepe, and then he weighed in at like 147 for a fight that he was contracted at 146. So this guy is a huge featherweight who always has problems making weight. So unders for somebody that has rough weight cuts is always a good thing, especially when it's somebody like Steve Garcia, who's getting dropped on 14.3% of the distance strikes that he absorbs.
That's wild. That's wild.
I mean, dude, how do you get dropped that often? I mean, he's been hit 69 times and he's getting, he's 7.25% of those significant strikes that he's absorbing are resulting in a knockdown. So, I mean, like, he's been knocked down several times. But he also has a lot of knockdowns too, because he's got a ton of power, especially in that left hand of his. And if he hits you square, it's going to be problems. Now, this is southpaw versus southpaw. So that's always a little bit of a interesting stylistic matchup. These guys don't fight southpaws very often. You don't see southpaw versus southpaw matchups. So something to look into a little bit further would be, how has Steve performed in the past against southpaws when he's fought him, and how has Melk performed against them. But Melk's really well-rounded. 6 wins by submission, 7 by knockout, 7 by decision. He can win minutes, he can win moments. He's well-rounded. He's only 27 years old, but he's got 26 professional fights and 250 minutes in the cage. So this guy is experienced, young, well-rounded, and well-tested so far. He's fought Thiago Moises and Austin Lingo in the UFC. So Melk is a good prospect, man. And he's well-rounded and experienced too. And Garcia is very dangerous and also very hittable. So where are we here with the props? Garcia, the under 1.5 at plus 132 is not the worst look, Brady. 4 of Garcia's 5 UFC fights have finished under 1.5 rounds. The only one that didn't was when he was wearing Luis Pena, like a cheap suit for 4. Like you said, I remember when I saw that, I saw in my stats that Pena had controlled him for 14 and a half minutes. And I was like, oh, that's wrong. There's nobody gets that much control time. This isn't Khabib Nurmagomedov. This is Luis Pena. So I went back and I watched the fight, to make sure that the stats were correct. Dude, they were correct. Pena controlled him for 14 and a half minutes. I'd never seen anything like it. So he absolutely can be controlled, but I don't think that that's how this fight's going to go. Like you said, it's a Garcia fight. He's going to come out swinging. He wants to hit this dude. He wants to knock this guy out. I mean, Steve Garcia fights like he's double parked. So I think that we're going to get an under 1.5 potentially here at plus 132. Definitely not a bad look. And either Costa or Garcia inside the distance could be good looks.
Yeah, kind of shocked they said it at 1.5, but we were talking before the show. There's like 7 or 8 lines set at 1.5 rounds this week, which a lot of them just don't make sense. But this under 1.5, I can definitely get behind. I think these guys are going to go all out for it. Garcia is going to bring the fight, and that's either going to lead him to get a knockout win himself, or it's going to leave him open to getting knocked out as well. So I like that. Costa minus 225, Garcia plus 190. Don't have a ton of interest in that money line, but yeah, I'm with you on the under 1.5. I think it could be a good look.
Yeah, I think so too, man. And I like Melk to win the fight, but I think the line is a little bit wide. Garcia is very dangerous. He's experienced as well, and he's got an underrated grappling game that a lot of people don't know much about. So good anti-grappling, some decent submissions of his own. So it'll be an interesting fight.
Yep, I'm definitely looking forward to this one. All right. I do want to bring up a dono. I'm not sure how I didn't see this earlier, but yeah, shout out to Glenbot. He says, happy belated Thanksgiving, gents. Great to be back. Appreciate you, Glenbot, for the dono. Hopefully you had a great Thanksgiving yourself. All right, we'll move on to the next fight. We got Drakkar Klose going against Joe Solecki. We got Drakkar Klose, 35 years old, 5'9" with a 70-inch reach. Joe Solecki, 30 years old, 5'9" with a 70-inch reach. We got Solecki 5 years younger, same height there, same reach. We got Drakkar Klose is 4-1 in his last 5 fights. A decision win against Bobby Green, a decision win against Christos Giagos, a knockout loss against Beneil Dariush, a knockout win against Brandon Jenkins, and then a decision win against Rafa Garcia. As far as Joe Solecki, he is 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Submission win against Austin Hubbard, decision win against Jim Miller, decision loss to Jared Gordon, a decision win against Alex De Silva, and then a submission win against Carl Deaton the third. Yeah, this fight confuses me a lot. First look, I thought it might be a pretty good matchup for Drakkar Klose. I think Klose is the better striker by like a country mile. It's not even close. I think Drakkar Klose has, a wrestling background. He's a BJJ black belt himself. But what kind of concerns me is Joe Solecki. This guy can wrestle in his own right. And when he gets guys down or when he takes guys backs, they just don't get up. If he takes your back standing or if he gets on top of you, that's going to be the round. So Drakkar Klose really cannot afford to get taken down at all. And although I think he does have incredible takedown defense, one takedown can kind of lose him a lot of minutes there. So this is what I'm staying far, far away from. I think it's going to be a close fight regardless. I think this could be one of those, damage over control type, decisions here. So it's one I'm staying away from. Weezy, what are your thoughts on this one here?
Yeah, it's a good fight, man. I'm really glad to see Drakkar Klose back because he's a fun fighter to watch. And it's been about a year and 4 months since we've seen him. Drakkar, what was the injury? Was it a knee injury for him? A complete knee reconstruction?
I don't know. He's been battling, and remember he was battling like the concussions as well. He's been battling a bunch of injuries.
Yeah, and and he floats around a bunch of different camps in the Arizona area as well. He'll be at the lab, he'll be at Fight Ready. He's kind of like traveled around, so I don't know exactly where he is right now. But the one thing that really bothered me here is that this guy's on a year and 4 months layoff is close, and he's 35 years old. He's getting up there, So this is it's shit or get off the pot time for Drakkar Klose to make this run, at the division, and he's got a really good UFC record. He's 7-2 in the UFC. You got Selecki's 5-1. So both of these guys, are winning a lot more fights than they're losing, and they both got a pretty decent process to their game. Klose, good striker, great pressure, great clinch game. Love those uppercuts, whether it's at distance, the lead uppercut that he throws, or once he gets in the clinch, he'll get that Muay Thai plum with the left arm and throw the uppercuts with the right. He'll wear on you in the clinch. He'll constantly pressure you, and he'll wear you down as the fight goes on. The problem is that if you pressure a guy like Joe Solecki and you get a little bit reckless throwing big punches on your way in, he's going to duck under them. He's going to get to your back standing, and then he's going to either, fall on his own back, bring you on top of him, or he's going to take your back standing like he did against Austin Hubbard and then just stay there for the rest of the round, and then you're going to be defending submissions. And Joe can wrestle. Joe can grapple. And Joe's got great back takes. And I always worry when somebody's slick at taking your back when they're going up against somebody who's going to walk forward, like Jason Voorhees with a machete at a co-ed's camp. So I kind of like the Selecki side here, dude. I think that Drakkar won't be able to pressure as much as he normally does. I think Selecki's striking is actually pretty good. He's got a really high-paced style on the feet. He's barely there, Brady. Only 23.5% of Joe Selecki's total UFC cage time is spent at distance striking range. But when he's there, he's pretty elusive. His shots come from odd angles, and he's always moving laterally, and he's got kind of like a weird cadence to his striking. So he actually does all right. You go back and you watch that third round with Jared Gordon, who's a good striker in his own right, high volume, very accurate, very defensively responsible. Him and Selecki were going back and forth 50-50. You can't even really tell who won that round. So I think Selecki actually will be able to be there on the feet and be okay while it's standing. But I think he's going to win the minutes with the wrestling and the grappling, and I think he could potentially take the back in 2 out of 3 rounds here. And if he does that, I think he's going to win this fight by decision.
Fair enough. Yeah, a little bit of disagreement. I'm going to pick Klose to win the fight. I thought I'd really like him, but after looking into it, I think that Joe Solecki is really live to get takedowns, but I think he needs takedowns. We got Klose minus 132, Joe Solecki plus 112. Another very close fight. It's one I'm staying away from. The over-under, what's it currently set at? Do they still have it at 1.5 or they change it?
So I had it put in earlier, the over 1.5 at minus 185. That's a trifecta bet on the template, Brady. And the under 1.5 for Klose Solecki plus 155. But let me look and see if that's changed. Nope, that's the same line.
What are they thinking?
I think that, they're overpricing that under at plus 155, and only 2 of 9 Drakkar Klose fights have finished under 1.5. Only 1 of 6 Solecki fights have finished under 1.5. So that's only 20%. 80% of their fights, and that's 15 of them, 12 of 15 have went over 1.5 rounds, but you're only paying 65% at a minus 185. So I think that over 1.5 is a potential parlay piece. And if you were to parlay that with the under 1.5 in the next fight that we're going to talk about, Reese versus Brundage, you would get plus 131 on Bet Online Sportsbook. And I think that bet gets the Uncle Weezy, bam, stamp of approval. And I might be trying that one out, Brady.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with both. The fact that it's even set at 1.5 is kind of baffling to me. I just don't understand that. Should be
9 fights, Brady. Why? Why are the Bet Online? Why? Why 9 fights set at over 1.5 rounds, especially the Deiveson Figueiredo Font fight is a 1.5 round over under. This Klose Selecki fight is a 1.5 round over under. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but I don't know. I don't know why they're doing that, but it's our job to take advantage of it when they make mistakes. Maybe this is one of them.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really see a finish at all. I mean, maybe Selecki could sub him, but I don't know. Drakkar Klose is a black belt himself. So yeah, I think the overs could be solid in this fight. And I think the under could be solid in this fight here. We got Zach Reese going against Cody Brundage. We got Zach Reese, 29 years old, 6'4" with a 77-inch reach. Cody Brundage, 29 years old, 6 foot with a 72-inch reach. We got Zach Reese, 5-0 in his last 5 fights. He's undefeated. Came off that first round submission on the Contender Series. As far as Cody Brundage, he is 2-3 in his last 5 fights. Had a knockout win against Tresean Gore. Had a knockout loss against Mikel Olazechuk. A submission loss to Rodolfo Vieira. A decision loss to SD Dumas. And then a DQ win against Jacob Malkoun. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Cody Brundage, I think a lot of people are upset with him right now. I'm sure a lot of people had the Malkoun money line parlayed, but I mean, you said it to me the other day. You went back and watched the fight for the first time with Malkoun, right? And I was watching it live, and I was like, dang, Malkoun's hitting this guy in the back of the head like 20 times, right? Yeah. And they were illegal shots. Did Cody quit? That's up for debate, but yeah, I mean, he got dominated in that fight. He took the win. It is what it is. But I mean, this is a completely different matchup, and it's against a guy in Zach Reese who, quite frankly, is just very, very unproven. He's fought absolutely nobody. And I don't know how to feel about this fight because Cody Brundage he's so hit or miss. In some fights, he looks incredible. The Tresean Gore fight, he looked incredible. Even against Rodolfo Vieira in the first round, he looked incredible. Almost, knocked out Rodolfo Vieira. Against Mikel Olazechuk in the first couple minutes, looked really good. Against Dolce, submitted him. And then in some fights, he just looks really bad. Like the SD Dumas fight, landed like 3 strikes across 15 minutes. The Malkoun fight in the last fight. So I don't know, Weezy. This is a sketchy one from a money line perspective. I'll tell you one thing. I'm going to be laying minus like 250 on Zach Reese. I do like violence, though. What are your thoughts on this fight here?
See, it seems like there's 2 Cody Brundages, right? Because Cody, when he's on the feet at distance striking range, swinging hammers, he's dangerous. When Cody's out there wrestling and he gets his takedowns and he gets on top of people, he's got good back takes. When he's doing that, he's dangerous. The second Cody gets put on his back, it hits the fan. And it falls apart like a Chinese motorcycle. The second it happens. What happened in the William Knight fight? The second he got put on his back, it was over. What happened in the Oleksiejczuk fight? The second he got put on his back, over. He went for all the guillotines in the Dumas fight, wound up on his back, couldn't get back up. And even Malkoun, who's a phenomenal wrestler, was able to reverse Cody and get on top and get to his back. And as soon as, he was underneath Malkoun, it was all over. So, Brundage is a good hammer and he's a bad nail. And that's a great recipe for unders, So I know I hit the under in the last fight. I was in Greece. I couldn't watch it, but cash the under 1.5 at plus 205 for your Uncle Weezy there. That was a nice hit. And we were talking about it. I hadn't watched the fight because I was in Greece. I didn't get to watch those fights. ESPN Plus doesn't work in Greece if you bought it in the United States. So I didn't get to see the fight until this week. And then I watched it and I'm like, yeah, Cody took about 20 shots to the back of the head, clean. So I don't have any problem with the result of that fight. And as gamblers, it's our job to kind of look past it and just say, all right, well, we can be mad at the guy if we want, but if especially if you had Malkoun parlayed up or whatever, but the fact is that Jacob hit him in the back of the head a ton of times. And Cody, a man with a wife and a daughter, did what anybody should do in the hurt business when you get a chance to get a second check, which is take it. And he did that. So I'm not mad at him, and we got to move forward and we got to look at this fight. And when we were looking at that Zach Reese side, the biggest stat, the one I'm going to highlight right now, is that this guy's entire professional career spans 9.27 minutes. Cody's been in the UFC octagon for over 50 minutes. Cody's probably the better wrestler. Cody might be the more powerful striker on the feet. I mean, it's hard to know, right? And Zach Reese beat a guy on Dana White's Contender Series who's an Israeli regional scene fighter. It's one of the worst regional scenes in the entire world. So I don't know what to make of this guy's wins. As a matter of fact, outside of the Tommy Britton fight that he had in Fury, we talked about this, Brady. The Aaron Phillips fight and the Shahriar Zulfagari fight were undercard fights. These were very low-level opponents. So, I mean, I get that Reese is the favorite here. I think a lot of people are down on Brundage right now, but Brundage is more experienced. He's probably the better wrestler, and he's a very good striker training out of Factory X. He's got much more high-level experience. I don't know. This could be a bounce back spot for Cody. We're going to find out a lot about Zach Reese here, aren't we, Brady?
Maybe. I mean, this fight could end in like a minute, though. We might not learn anything. But yeah, I mean, this line for me, it's just too wide. We just don't know anything about this guy. And Kiwi says it right here. I mean, Cody Brundage is a good hammer and a bad nail, and that is the absolute truth. Really good hammer, really bad nail. Kind of reminds me of like a Jordan Wright, like great hammer, really bad nail. So yeah, I mean, that just leads to an under, though. I think the under is solid. I actually woke up early today. And I woke up at like 9:30, 9:45, which is early for me, especially on a Sunday, right? And I look at the lines, and I see that the under 1.5 opened up at plus 120 at 9:06 in the morning. So I just missed it. And that line was there for 5 minutes, and it's currently minus 200. So the line moves $1.20 in the span of like 10 minutes, which is just fantastic. I love it so much. So yeah, the under 1.5 is currently minus 200. It's one of those spots where I think it hits, but minus 200. Give me a break.
Yeah, I mean, dude, it probably hits, right?
Yeah,
it probably hits. This guy Reese, dude, he's good. He is good. From what you can see on tape of him, he's a problem, man. He's huge for the division. He's got real power, and he's got a decent submission grappling game as well. He's won 2 of his fights by submission, 4 by knockout. Never seen the scorecards, and I don't even think the guy's ever seen a second round as a pro.
Nope.
So, and then add to the fact that Brundage is very front loaded. He's going to go for submissions. He hits very hard on the feet. We've seen him knock out Gore. We've seen him drop Rodolfo Vieira a couple of times. So yeah, I think somebody's going to get served here. And as much as I hate that minus 200 price tag for the under 1.5, Brady, I still think I feel like I might have to parlay it up with that over 1.5 in the Selecki fight. Maybe put 1 unit down at plus 130. That might be the way I play this one.
Yeah, one of those spots where it's like it's wide, but it probably hits. I like it. Daniel says bet the house on Brundage. Don't do that. I mean, come on. Don't bet the house on really anything in MMA. Anthony Smith said he's ready to go. He does train with Anthony Smith. So there you go.
Is Smitty back at Factory X now?
I don't know, to be honest.
Because he kind of left for a minute and was doing his own thing back home in Nebraska, if I'm not mistaken. But I know Anthony Smith has always been a long-time Factory X guy. So maybe Smitty's back at Factory X now, and Cody's always been a Factory X guy.
So Robert saying Cody's a good bet. So Weezy, one of my dirtiest wins of the year. And I've had a lot of dirty losses as well. So I deserve a couple dirty good wins, right? My dirtiest win of the year was Cody Brundage round 1. No sub, no knockout, just round 1 on Bet River Sportsbook was plus 1,700. And I cashed it. So, I mean, Fight
Yeah,
Geek.
dude, we were talking about that bet, and I
Yeah.
went to make that bet in Greece, and I couldn't. You know, all my sports books are blocked out once you go to Europe. You know, you're in trouble unless you have a VPN. So the only bet I had that week, I think, was the Cody Brundage under 1.5 rounds. So yeah, I got kind of a dirty cash there. You got kind of a dirty cash there, but we'll take it, man. We've had enough nasty ones go against us, you know.
Yeah, sometimes I like it dirty, so it all
There you
works out.
go. That's right. Me too.
Heck yeah. All right, Weezy. So that's gonna be a fun fight here. Oh God. We have this fight next. We have the 1-800 Gambler fight of the week. We have Miesha Tate going against Julia Avila. We got Miesha Tate, 37 years old, 5'6" with a 65-inch reach. Avila, 35 years old, 5'7" with a 68-inch reach. We got Tate 1-4 in her last 5 fights. Sub loss to Nunez. That was like 6 years ago, maybe 7. It was a long time ago. Pennington decision loss. Renault KO win. Decision loss against Ketlin Vieira. Decision loss against Lauren Murphy. As far as Avila, she is 4-1 in her last 5 fights. Decision win against Pani Kanzad, a knockout win against Gina Mazzani, decision loss against Ciara Eubanks, and then a submission win over Julio Stoliarenko, which was like 2 years ago. So, Weezy, take it away. No, seriously, take it off the card.
Take it off the card. And, you know, and I would like to just say for a minute here and speak from the heart that if you've bet on this fight, I'm very disappointed in you. As a gambler, as a risk manager, as somebody who just makes generally good decisions. If somebody out there is telling you that they have a strong opinion on this fight, get that person out of your life. Stop hanging out with them. Do the opposite of what they do. You know, learn from their mistakes. Brady, as an old man, right? You're a young man. I can give you some sage advice, and the best advice that I can ever give anybody is to learn from other people's mistakes before you make them yourselves, right? This is a 1-800 Gambler fight. Julia Avila is on a 2-year and 4-month layoff. She recently had a kid. Miesha Tate is on a 1-year and 4-month layoff. She recently had a kid, and we've seen Miesha since the kid. The Renault fight, the Vieira fight, and then she lost a unanimous decision to one Lauren Murphy, who just recently got 7 shades of shit beaten out of her for a full 15 minutes by Jessica Andrade. Miesha Tate's not very good right now, okay? Pioneer of the sport, legend of the sport, had a couple of fights with Ronda Rousey, took Ronda to decision a couple of times when Ronda was finishing everybody, right? And she's, you know, a great wrestler. She's got solid striking. She's an ambassador of the sport, one of the OGs. But this is 2023, dude. You know, Miesha Tate's relevance in any division in the UFC is it's just not there. And then with Julia, I mean, she's got 4 UFC fights, but I mean, she just doesn't fight either. I mean, maybe once a year when she is active. Now we haven't seen her in 2.5 years. You know, how do you bet this fight? What are you doing if you're betting this fight? This is the orderlies knocking on your door if you've got units on Tate or Avila here. God help you if you've bet this fight and expect to knock on the door. You know, that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I was gonna joke about betting on this fight, but it's not even something to joke about. I mean, it's that bad. Like, I can't even make a joke about it because it's that bad. We have a recovering Tate better here. Understandable. We're here for you, Ice Viking. I have a couple sponsors I can call if I feel tempted. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. This fight. I mean, minus 157 for Avila, plus 137 for Tate. I mean, it's a dog or pass for me right off the bat, but I don't think I'm betting on this. It's one of those fights where I think I'm just gonna stay away from it. Any thoughts on the money line? Are you laying minus 157 or Avila, or are you passing as well?
I think Avila wins. I think Avila's dangerous, right?
She is.
Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, her BJJ is dangerous, and she hits really hard too. 4 knockout wins in her career in only 9 wins as a pro. So, you know, she can hit hard, and Avila tries. She goes out there to finish. She works hard. So I think she'll be landing the bigger shots. I think she's going to try harder. I think she probably wants this more, but man, like I said, I'm not touching it. I mean, it's add up their layoffs and you get almost 4 years of inactivity. Come on. They've got babies, no. The answer is no.
The answer is no. So Weezy, I was winning 2,300 on DraftKings, right?
Okay.
Before overtime in the Eagles game, right?
Yeah.
After overtime, the 2,380, and I finished with 497.
Oh,
it cost
you gotta
$1,700.
that. Yeah, when you're just like wanting the clock to run out, and of course, then with the one game where you don't have any exposure goes to overtime. Who won, man? Was it the Eagles or the?
It was the Eagles. Jalen Hurts rushing touchdown to end the game.
Oh, so there goes my fantasy week. I was going up against Jalen Hurts, and he. Oh my God, damn it.
Yeah, the NFL, man, the NFL. We think the refs are bad in MMA. My gosh, some of these refs, man, NFL probably worse. I mean, it's terrible.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of money at stake, in football. So I think a lot of those refs sometimes they're, there's a little bit of chicanery. Let's just put it that way.
There's a lot of chicanery going around. All good. I mean, I put in 150 today. I made 497. I mean, it's a win, but I mean, I was up over $2,000 before overtime started. So it is what it is. All right, back to some UFC. We have Clay Guida going against Joaquim Silva. Really looking forward to this fight. We got Clay Guida, 41 years old, going to be, I think, 42 in like less than a month. He's 5'7" with a 70-inch reach. We got Joaquim Silva, 34 years old, 5'8" with a 69-inch reach. We got Silva. He's 7 years younger, 1-inch height advantage and a 1-inch reach disadvantage. Clay Guida, he is 2-3 in his last 5 fights. Decision loss against Mark Madsen, submission win against Leo Santos, submission loss to Claudio Poyas, a decision win against Scott Holtzman, and then a decision loss against Rafa Garcia. As far as Joaquim Silva, he is 2-3 in his last 5 fights, knockout win against Jared Gordon, knockout loss to Hack Prast and Ricky Glenn, and then a knockout win against Jesse Ronson, and a knockout loss to Arman Tsaruykan. So it was about a week ago, Weezy, I messaged you. I'm like, man, I really like Joaquim Silva. He's minus 182 right now. And then like the next day, I swear, he went to like minus 300. And currently he's sitting at minus 320. So I definitely missed the boat. I'm like, Joaquim Silva minus 180. Sure. But by the time I looked into it, he's like minus 320 now. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a solid matchup for him. I mean, Clay Guida's been fighting forever. I mean, this guy has like over almost 60 fights in his career. It's ridiculous. This guy's been fighting forever. He's taken a lot of damage, has a lot of tread on the tires, 42 years old at this point. Joaquim Silva, this guy's dangerous. He's a BJJ black belt. The nickname's Neto BJJ. Does not have a submission yet in the UFC, but I think that might potentially change here. And he has a ton of power, like a lot of knockout wins in the UFC. And even in the Tsarukyan fight, a fight that he took on very short notice, he rocked Tsarukyan really bad in the second round, was on the verge to finishing him in that second round, but couldn't quite get him out of there. And he got finished in the third, again, on short notice. That's not a loss he should be ashamed in. Yeah, I think this should be Silva. I think Silva is going to be dangerous everywhere. I think he could potentially hurt Guida on the feet. I think he has that submission game in his back pocket. I think a club and subs live here, a knockouts live here. The only thing that does concern me is maybe we get a potential Leonardo Santos situation where I think me and you are both on it in some type of fashion. We were very high on Leo Santos against Clay Guida. Leo Santos proceeds to beat the crap out of Clay Guida in the first round, rocked him, hurt him, and then let off on like a 50-punch combination with some elbows mixed in. It was like a Vagislav Kisiev situation where Keith Peterson was nowhere to be found. Was he at the bar? Was he getting more cigarettes at the gas station? I'm not sure, but Keith Peterson just was nowhere to be found in stopping that fight. So, and then, of course, Santos did gas out and get finished himself. So that's kind of my one concern is Silva's not able to get him out of there. Clay Guida sets a pace and gets him out of there late, but I think Silva probably stops him here. I'm thinking like a club and sub. I think club and subs live. Clay Guida's been submitted. Like it has to be like a record amount of times. I think he's been submitted like 13 times, 11 times, which again is it's a lot. So I think Neto BJJ potentially gets his first sub here. But yeah, this money line, it's gotten pounded. It's gotten pounded very, very hard. Weezy, what are your thoughts on this one here?
Yeah. So, I mean, like at first look, it's a bad matchup for Guida. Silva 7 years younger than him, right? Silva, the more powerful striker. Silva's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt who's nasty on the ground, right? But Silva's one of these aggravating guys. The nickname is Neto BJJ, right? So if you're betting on Silva, you're like, all right, I want him to use his BJJ. But guess what? 9 UFC fights, only 2 takedown attempts. So he's one of these guys who's like, I got the BJJ, but I just keep it in my back pocket. I'm looking to take dudes' heads off. And then when they get sick of me trying to take their damn head off, I'll make them shoot on me. And then I'll work from my guard. And he's got a nasty guard, Brady. It's really good. And the guy's still in grappling competitions all the time. Very high-level grappler. Very good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu game. But the thing is that Joaquim Silva, we always say don't overrate somebody in a loss, Brady, because that could be a little bit dangerous. And I think people are overrating him right now because of the Tsarukyan loss.
Really? He got his butt kicked in that fight.
But like you said, it was short notice, and he put on a good show for the first 2 rounds. It was just that, Tsarukyan put it on him in the third. He got to a dominant position. He threw a ton of ground and pound, and you know that Silva was there on short notice, But just 2 fights before that, this guy's getting slept in the first round by Ricky Glenn.
Oh.
Right? Ricky Glenn, who then goes on to look absolutely awful in his next 2 fights. And I think he got knocked out in both of them. So the win is over Jesse Ronson. He knocked out Jared Gordon, back when Jared was at his chinniest. And now we're going to lay minus 300 on this guy, Silva? Really? I don't know, man. I don't know. I mean, I like I say, I think it's kind of a bad matchup for Guida. He doesn't really win a lot of minutes on the feet. In order for Guida to win minutes, he does kind of have to go to his wrestling. But if he wants to do that, it'll be there. The problem is that you're kind of playing into Joaquim Silva's best attributes of his MMA game if you take that dude down. And Silva's got a high-level BJJ black belt, and Clay Guida's been submitted 11 times in 22 losses. So, if you're betting that Guida side, you're going to be holding your breath every time he goes to the ground with Silva, because Silva's going to be throwing up submissions. And while it's on the feet, I think Silva's going to be the much more dangerous striker, the guy that's more likely to land a knockdown or get a knockout. So I've got to lean Silva here, but Clay can be hard to find. He's got very good distance striking defense at over 60%. He's got a lot of movement. He's got phenomenal conditioning. And if he is able to mix in some takedowns here, Brady, and stay safe from the submissions, pass the half guard, land some ground and pound, he could win this fight. But it's a big if. It's a big if, and you're betting on a 42-year-old guy. He's going to be December 8th is Clay Guida's birthday. He'll be 42 5 days after this fight. Or 6 days after this fight.
Yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame. Somebody dropped a bomb on Joaquim Silva, November 19th. Just an absolute bomb. I mean, minus 180 to minus 320 now. Yeah, so somebody's on him big, and I agree. This is probably my most confident spot on the card, I'd say. But minus 320, I'm going to look at playing it a different way. I actually kind of like the under, minus 115 to the under 2.5, because I think Silva can finish him, whether it be knockout or sub. But I'm going to take a look at maybe Silva inside the distance at maybe plus money. So yeah, this line's gotten hammered, and I don't know. I kind of thought more people would be on Guida, but I guess I was kind of wrong there. But yeah, give me Silva, and I think a hot take maybe, but I think he gets his first submission ever in the UFC.
Well, yeah, in the UFC for sure. Yeah, and I think that's very live, Brady. I'm going to look and see what that Silva by submission line is, because I think Clay's going to have to take him down, because I think if he doesn't, Joaquim's going to be walking him down, just swinging hammers.
Yep. Should be a fun fight here. All right, move on to the next fight. We have the Roundtree fight is canceled. Mirzakhanov has pneumonia.
Yep.
So he's out, and then in steps Anthony Smith next week for the co-main event, which should be a fun fight.
Yeah, that will be a fun fight. I was looking forward to seeing Mirzakhanov fight Roundtree, but yeah, we'll see what Smitty's got left in the tank, man, because he's getting old, dude. He's got a lot of tread on the tires, but Smitty's a tough dude, so that's going to be a good fight. And that card next week, man, it needs as much help as it can get. So it's a good thing that they moved that fight to that card, because that card is a dumpster fire.
It is. I was actually not looking forward to Mirzakhanov fighting just because I get his fights wrong every time. Like, I lose money on Mirzakhanov fights all the time.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I guess
so confident on Jacoby.
Jacoby, yeah. Yep.
And then I max bet against Jacoby because he looked like trash in the Mirzakhanov fight, and then he sparks Kennedy in the first round. So yeah, man. I'm not looking forward to the Mirzakhanov fight either, dude. I'll probably get that one wrong and lose 3 more units.
Yeah, maybe Mirzakhanov just rubs us the wrong way because he's a liar. I mean, he's clearly lying about his age. He's not 30 or whatever he says he is. He's 45 at least.
It's got to be right, dude.
Yeah, 100%. All right, the next week's card needs more help than Keith Peterson. Yeah, it is rough.
Yeah.
I think we're currently at 9 or 10 fights. Not much.
Yeah, 10 fights. Now that we got the Smitty fight, that's 10 fights, and they added like 2 trash women's fights.
Yeah,
like Rayanne Amanda versus some other Brazilian girl that I've never heard of that's making her debut, and it's not good, dude.
We got Charlie Chips saying Vanessa Hardy is probably the only bet you need. Charlie Chips very high on Vanessa Hardy this week. We shall see. All right. We'll move on to Punahele.
Vanessa Hardy.
I don't know. I don't know. I think he means Veronica Hardy.
Yeah, okay, Veronica. Yeah, I mean it's Veronica. Yeah, Veronica Hardy.
Yeah.
Which used to be Macedo.
Yes. All right, so we'll move on to this next fight that doesn't make a ton of sense, but it should be kind of fun, I guess. We got Punahele Soriano going against Dustin Stoltzfus. We got Punahele Soriano, 30 years old, 5'11" with a 72-inch reach. Stoltzfus, 32 years old, 6 foot with a 75-inch reach. Soriano, 2 years younger. He's going to have a 1-inch height disadvantage and then a 3-inch reach disadvantage. Punahele Soriano, he is 2-3 in his last 5 fights. A knockout win against Dusko Todorovic, a decision loss to Brendan Allen, decision loss against Nick Maximov, knockout win against Dalcha Langambula, and then a knockout loss against Roman Kopylov. As far as Dustin Stoltzfus, 1-4 in his last 5 fights, decision loss against Kyle Dawkins, submission loss to Rodolfo Vieira and Gerald Mearshart, a decision win against Dwight Grant, and then a knockout loss against Abus Magomedov. Yeah, it should be a very winnable fight here for Punahele Soriano. The striking shouldn't really be remotely competitive here. And, Punahele Soriano should have, in theory, the wrestling to keep this fight standing. On paper, his takedown defense is terrible. I think it's like 20% or something, just awful, 30%. But I think a lot of that is skewed because he did go against Nick Maximov. Maximov took him down like 10 times. So yeah, I think he should have the takedown defense to keep this standing. And on the feet, he should be the much better striker. And I think he probably knocks out Dustin Stoltzfus in the first round here. Yeah, not much else to say for me. I like Soriano to get it done probably early. Weezy, what are your thoughts on this one here?
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to touch this one, dude. Soriano's been disappointing lately ever since the Brendan Allen fight. That was such a bad look, dude. I just thought he was going to outstrike Allen, and it really wasn't even close. Allen kind of just clowned on him. And Puna's conditioning is not good, dude. It's not good at all, especially if you make him grapple. So I guess there's a path for Stoltzfus here if he chooses to wrestle. And if you look at the guys that Stoltzfus has been in there, he's got 5 UFC fights. Dana White's Contender Series is in there against Piper. And then he gets Kyle Dawkins, Rodolfo Vieira, Gerald Mearshart, Dwight Grant, and then Abus Magomedov. He's been through a pretty good murderer's row here. And Mearshart, he's winning that fight until the 3rd round. Vieira, he's winning that fight until the 3rd round. I think people are really underestimating Dustin Stoltzfus here. And Punahele Soriano is not the kind of guy, in my opinion, that you should be laying minus 250 implied on right now in his career, because he seems to be a big left hand and not much else, dude. The guy doesn't offensively grapple. He's pretty low volume on the feet. He's got 52% distance striking defense. And he is showing that 30% takedown defense, but that was all in the Maximov fight pretty much. But he's had tough fights too. I mean, he's losing to Kopylov, Brendan Allen, Nick Maximov, who's a tough stylistic matchup for somebody like him. And he's getting the wins over guys like Todorovic and Lungiambula like he should be. And Puna's still pretty young. He's still not even 31 years old. So, well, actually, he just turned 31 a few days ago. But, you know, I love the power on Puna. But if he doesn't land a big left, I mean, he probably doesn't win this fight. And he's landed, let's see, 5 knockdowns in 6 fights. So he's got a pretty good knockdown percentage. There's a pretty good chance he lands something big here if this fight stays on the feet. But Puna's fights stay on the feet about 71% of the time. For Dustin, it's only 49% of the time. So, you know, I think there's a path here for Dustin. I think he's fought the better guys overall. But I also think that Stoltzfus isn't special anywhere either.
That's my thing. I just don't think Stoltzfus is that great at anything.
Yeah.
Like I know there's a lot of reasons not to like Puna at minus 250, but I don't have a ton of reasons to like Stoltzfus at like plus 210. I mean, it's a pass fight for me. Violence, if anything, we got another 1.5 here, which I kind of like the under, because if Puna's winning, it's probably under 7.5 minutes. If it goes over 7.5, I mean, it's going to get sketchy real fast. So I might look at like an under, maybe Puna, like a first round knockout prop, second round knockout prop, something like that. But I doubt I'm probably touching this fight. Any thoughts on this total? It's a weird one.
Yeah, so I don't think I can really count on Soriano to win in the 3rd round. You know, I mean, is he going to win a decision? He's 1-2 in decisions in his career, while Stoltzfus is 7-2.
And that one decision, I think, was Jamie Pickett, which doesn't count.
Oh my God, yeah, that's right. he didn't even finish Pickett on the Contender Series. That's right.
Yeah, it was rough.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, dude. I mean, how about Soriano round 1 knockout? Maybe that's the way to play it. That way you don't have to lay minus 250. You could take and it's really, if he doesn't win it by first round in the knockout, you know, you could say, all right, well, I lost the bet, but I don't like his chances of getting a 2nd round knockout. I don't like his chances of getting a 3rd round knockout. So maybe that's the way to play it. Just say he gets the job done early, and if not, then you can just throw up your hands and you don't have to worry about him slowing down later in the fight.
Yeah, so I'm looking at his finishes right now. First round finish, 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 second round finish, second. So he has only one of his finishes have came outside the first round. It was against Stoltzfus, and that was 28 seconds into the second. Other than that, it's first round knockouts.
Yep. So I think that's the way to go. You know, why not play that? I mean, maybe Puna got his cardio together. You know, maybe he can push. Maybe he can mix in the grappling and go full 15. But I haven't seen it yet.
No, have not seen it yet either. So yeah, round 1 knockout for Puna might be the way to look at it. I think it's a great way to get that minus 250 to some maybe juicy plus money. But that's about all I'm looking at for this fight here. Other than that, it's a big pass.
Agreed.
All right, we'll move on to this next fight. Yeah, this fight and then the next fight are just fights I've been struggling with, Weezy, so you're going to help me out a little bit. But yeah, we got Sean Brady going against Kelvin Gastelum. We got Sean Brady, 30 years old, 5'10" with a 72-inch reach. Kelvin Gastelum, 32 years old, 5'9" with a 71-inch reach. We got Sean Brady, 3 years younger, 1-inch height advantage and a 1-inch reach advantage. Sean Brady, 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Decision win against Ismail Nardiev, a submission win against Christian Aguilera and Jake Matthews, a decision win against Michael Chiesa, and then a knockout loss against Bilal Muhammad. As far as Kelvin Gastelum, 2-3 in his last 5 fights, sub loss to Jack Hermanson, decision win against Ian Heinisch, decision loss to Robert Whitaker and Jared Cannonier, a decision win against Chris Curtis. So, yeah, I don't know. This is going to be officially Kelvin Gastelum's debut, right, at welterweight?
No. He fought at welterweight his whole career. And then they pushed him up to 185 because he kept missing weight. But early in the career, Brady, he was fighting at 170. But Gastelum fought at 185 on the Ultimate Fighter, but like a lot of guys fight up a weight class when they were on the Ultimate Fighter, and then they come back to 170. So Gastelum, I can tell you right now, his last fight at 170 was the Johnny Hendricks fight back in 2016. He missed weight there. He missed weight against Tyron Woodley. He missed weight against Nico Masoki. And then in 2016, he had to move up to 185, and that's when he fought Kennedy, Belfort, Weidman, Bisping, Jacare, Adesanya, Till, Hermanson. I mean, talk about a murderer's row that Kelvin Gastelum has been through, but he's coming back down to 170. Hopefully he puts the tacos away, because that was always the problem with this dude, is that he wouldn't stop eating. And he could always make 170. He was just irresponsible. So this is going to be important to see how he looks on the scales here at 170.
So it's the first time since
2016.
2016 against
long time
Johnny Hendricks. So that's
Johnny Hendricks, yeah.
7 years ago. Yeah, so it's been a while. It's been a while since Kelvin Gastelum's fought at welterweight. I don't know. I like the fact that Gastelum is training at Fight Ready. I think that's a great move. My concern here is Sean. I think Sean Brady's really good. I think he just ran into a tough matchup in Beneil. Beneil's a tough matchup, in general, but stylistically for Sean Brady, I thought it was a tough matchup. Beneil has incredible takedown defense. I think it's like 90-something% for Beneil. Beneil has underrated strike. You see, I thought it was a tough matchup. I was on Beneil here, but here, I don't know. I kind of feel like Sean Brady, if he's able to get takedowns, I feel like he can kind of keep Gastelum there. But on the feet, Sean Brady can kind of hold his own. But I like Gastelum striking there. This fight's close to me. I don't have a strong lean one way or another. Weezy, what are your thoughts on this one here?
Yeah, it kind of feels like the bookies got it right, doesn't it, Brady? Because you can see paths to victory for both guys. If Brady's just going to box with Gastelum, I think Gastelum will probably win the minutes, but it'll be close. And Brady is a guy who's getting 2.8 takedowns per 15 minutes. He's 50% on his takedown attempts, but it's not like this guy's a wrestling monster. It's not like this guy is just spamming takedowns and you're going to have to be guarding against the takedowns the whole time. And Gastelum is somebody that's been fighting a lot of really good grapplers at 185, not at 170. So, but yeah, if Brady gets you down, Brady, you're staying there. And that's going to be the problem. Is he going to be able to get this fight to the ground? And, and I'd like to remind everybody that Brady probably won the first round against Muhammad. And I think that he was winning the second round, but Muhammad landed a big right hand, changed the trajectory of the fight, and he knew that he had hurt Brady, and then he just swarmed after he did and got that knockout. So that was surprising to see Beneil to see Beneil land that big right hand. So that's something we got to worry about, because if Beneil can hit you with a big right hand that can get you on Queer Street, then Gastelum can too, because Gastelum's got something like 9 knockdowns in 21 UFC fights, and that's against like the cream of the crop of the middleweight fighters that most of his career recently has been against. So I think this is a great fight. I think these guys are very well matched, but we haven't seen Brady in over a year. And we haven't seen Gastelum. I think Gastelum's maybe fought once in the last 3 years, because he was coming off a very long layoff, and he's had a lot of pre-fight injuries as well here. So I'm worried. I feel like we haven't seen enough of these guys recently to be really confident on either side. And then that gets me to thinking, all right, do I need to listen to interviews? What are the narrative issues here? Because this seems very close on paper. And these guys have got a very similar strength of schedule. These guys have got similar striking stats. These guys have got pretty good experience stats, both of them, but obviously it's Gastelum who's going to be the much more experienced fighter at the UFC level and overall. Orthodox versus Southpaw once again. I don't know who I'm picking here, but I think I'm just going to stay away and just see how these guys perform, because we haven't seen enough of either of them lately.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, I was, watching some old like Kelvin Gastelum fights, but I mean, I don't know how much you can take away from fights that were, a couple of years ago. I mean, Whitaker took him down 4 times, but that's Whitaker. I mean, Chris Weidman took him down, but it was like 6 years ago. Weidman, no shame in that. Neil Magny took him down 6 times. But we're talking about fights from like 7 years ago, so I don't know what to do with this fight. It's a fight I'm just gonna sit back and watch. Don't have a strong read. I don't know who I'm picking. I think I might be slightly leaning Brady because I agree with you. I think, although I don't favor him the striking, I think he can make it semi-competitive. But I think just if he can wrestle, mix in takedowns, control, I think he can potentially do enough here to win a decision. But I think it's going to be close. I think it's a really close fight. I don't really see either guy getting a finish here. The over-under set at 2.5 rounds, the over 2.5 minus 210, the under 2.5 plus 170. I don't know. I think it goes to decision, but I'm not laying minus 210 on that over. Any thoughts on the total?
Yeah, I kind of like this one to go the distance as well. You know, both of these guys are, I mean, obviously Kelvin Gastelum, you're not knocking him out ever. So you're going to have to submit him. And Sean Brady's been knocked out once, you know, so maybe Gastelum could get a knockout, but you know, Gastelum's got 3 knockout wins and 12 UFC wins. So it's not like he's a one-punch knockout artist, but he definitely does have some power. It's just going to be interesting with Gastelum moving back down in weight, with Sean Brady on over a year layoff with injuries, and Gastelum's had a bunch of injuries, and we don't really know what the fight-ready version of Gastelum is going to look like yet. We've only seen him once, and it was against Chris Curtis. That was a very close fight. So, yeah, I think I want to just sit back and obtain some more information going forward on both of these guys.
Yeah, I mean it's one I'm just we're gonna stay away from. But people in the chat are saying that Kelvin does look like he's in great shape. You're training with guys that fight ready. It's good. Yeah, I'm gonna sit back and watch this one, take some notes, and go from there. Don't see myself taking a shot on either side here.
Yeah, I'd at least like to see Gastelum on that scale before I make any decisions at all.
Yeah. All right. We'll move on to this next fight. Another fight I'm just really struggling with. We got Rob Font going against Deiveson Figueiredo. We got Rob Font, 36 years old, 5'8" with a 71-inch reach. We got Deiveson, he's 35 years old, 5'5" with a 68-inch reach. Deiveson 1 year younger, 3-inch height disadvantage, and then a 3-inch reach disadvantage. Rob Font is 2-3 in his last 5 fights. Decision win against Cody Garbrandt. Decision loss to Jose Aldo and Marlon Vera. A knockout win against Adrian Yanez, and then a decision loss against Corey Sandhagen. As far as Deiveson Figueiredo, he has 2-2 and 1 draw in his last 5 fights. Submission win against Alex Perez, draw against Moreno, submission loss against Moreno, decision win against Moreno, and then a knockout loss against Moreno. It feels like it's been years, and it has, since Deiveson's fought somebody not named Brandon Moreno. It's been like since 2020. So it's been a very long time. I guess the big storyline here is Deiveson Figueiredo is going to be moving up to bantamweight, which I think at this point of his career, that makes a lot of sense. This guy's a big flyweight, cuts a lot of weight, but he's going to be kind of a small bantamweight here, and he's going to be smaller in this fight. He's going to have a 3-inch height disadvantage and a 3-inch reach disadvantage. I don't know, man. I don't know what to think about this one. I'm a big fan of Figgy, but I mean, this guy in terms of minute winning is just not a great minute winner. But he's so dangerous, right? He has knockout power, at least in the flyweight division. He has a great submission game. And Rob Font's a guy he's never been knocked out. He has been submitted once. But the thing with Rob Font in a lot of these fights is he's doing a lot of great work. He's outlanding these guys. He's out-voluming these guys. But then he's getting hurt. You know, we saw Marlon Vera hurt this guy in the first, second, third, fourth, and fifth round. I mean, it was ridiculous. Same thing with Jose Aldo. Hurt him multiple times in that fight. So I think the durability of Font's starting to wane a little bit, which is kind of concerning against Figueiredo. But there's no doubt in my mind that Font's probably going to be the minute winner here. I think Font's going to outland Figueiredo in terms of the numbers. It's just if Figueiredo lands one big shot and Font starts doing the stanky leg, like that can sway the judges, right? And then I also think Figueiredo can potentially go for takedowns here, but it's not really something Figgy does all that much. It's a fight I'm really struggling with. I've been back and forth. Like I switched my pick already twice on this fight. I don't know which side I'm going to end up on, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this one, Weezy. Maybe you can sway me one way or another.
I like Font here. He's, first of all, Rob Font is an absolutely gigantic bantamweight. So the UFC has this kind of like this habit, Brady, of like if you're going to move down in weight class, they're going to give you the biggest guy in the division when you move down. And when you move up, it's like they tend to punish you for moving up and being like, oh, you think you're going to be big at this weight class? Well, guess what? You're fighting now Rob Font, who's 5'8", with a 71-inch reach, who's a bantamweight. So, Font is a massive bantamweight. So I don't like the size difference here. And Deiveson Figueiredo is a guy who shoots a below average amount of takedowns. So at bantamweight, you see less takedown attempts, right? But Figueiredo only attempts 3.42 per fight. So we really can't count on Deiveson to go out there and push a wrestling heavy game plan. And Font is just a master of winning minutes at distance. His jab, Brady, is just beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. He's high volume. He's accurate. He's defensively responsible, and he's extremely durable. The guy's never been knocked out in his career in 27 fights. And we've seen him in there with guys, Jose Aldo, Marlon Vera. He's been in there, Cody Garbrandt, Adrian Yannis. He's been in there with guys that hit as hard as anybody. And he's been a bantamweight for his whole career. Shit, Font could probably move up to featherweight, for Christ's sake. He's so big. So, if he moved up there, he'd be bigger than Nathaniel Wood, who's a former bantamweight who moved up to featherweight. So, I just think that Font's going to be too much for him here. He's more experienced at this level. He's fought the better guys because he's fighting bantamweights. He's the better boxer. He's faster on the feet, I think. And, Font's just not a guy who's out there getting controlled a lot by anybody besides Corey Sandhagen. And I just don't see Figueiredo doing that. If you're not wrestling a lot at flyweight, you're going to wrestle even less at bantamweight. So I like Font here, and I like him to win by decision.
All right. Yeah, I don't know, man. I like the fact that Figgy's at fight ready. I think that's huge. Yeah. The game plan, if they come up with a good game plan, he could certainly have success. If they tell him to go out there and wrestle, it can make it look pretty easy. But yeah, that's something he's never done before, so we don't know. So it's one I'm staying far away from. Let's see where the line's at now. Font is minus 142 and Figgy is plus 122. I don't really see myself touching this one. And then another one, they randomly set this at 1.5. I'm not sure what's going on here. The over 1.5 is minus 300. The under 1.5 is plus 240. I don't know what's going on, why they would even do this, but apparently it's set at 1.5 here.
That makes no sense to me. I don't understand why they would set it at 1.5, but that they did that with so many lines this week.
I don't know. I don't have an explanation for it, but they did it, and we'll go from there. But yeah, I think this fight does go over. I mean, Rob Font's super durable, Figgy's super durable. So yeah, but yeah, I don't really think I'm touching this one here. Would you play it total here, or would you just wait for the 2.5?
Yeah, I'd wait for the 2.5 or the fight doesn't go, because it's just absurd. 1.5 minus 300. I mean, of course it's minus 300. What are you expecting? 6 of 7 Figueiredo fights that have went over 1.5 and 6 of 12 for Font.
Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't make much sense to me. Daniel saying Figgy KO. He'd be the first one to knock out Font. I mean, Font has been getting hurt so many times lately. That'd be pretty crazy if you got that. I don't know. All right, and then we got KC betting on a fight ready. Yeah, if he comes in here with a good game plan, I think it's a winnable fight. I mean, Font's get-up game just looked non-existent in the Sandhagen fight, but he took that fight on short notice. I don't want to hold that against him too much, so we'll see. Weird fight. All right, we'll move on to the next one. We got Jalin Turner going against Bobby Green. We got Jalin Turner, 28 years old, 6'3" with a 77-inch reach. Bobby Green, 37 years old. 5'10" with a 71-inch reach. We got Jalin Turner is going to be 9 years younger. He's going to be a 5-inch height advantage and then a 6-inch reach advantage. Jalin Turner is 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Submission win against Earl Smedic, knockout win against Jamie Malarkey, submission win against Brad Riddell, and then split decision losses against both Mateus Gamrot and Dan Hooker. As far as Bobby Green, he is 2-2 and 1 no contest in his last 5 fights. A knockout loss against Islam Makhachev, a knockout loss against Drew Dober, a no contest against Jared Gordon, a submission win against Tony Ferguson, then a knockout win against Grant Dawson in a big upset in the main event last time out. So one thing that really worries me right off the bat is this fight is at lightweight, which is quite frankly shocking, Weezy. I mean, I'm not sure why this is not at a catch weight of 160, because Jalin Turner is obviously huge for lightweight. He's 6'3". There's not a lot of 6'3" lightweights. One other one that comes to mind is Joel Alvarez, and he misses weight a lot. Jalin Turner missed weight in his last fight. So he's coming in here on short notice after already missing weight his last fight. I got to see this guy on the scales. I'm not even sure he makes weight here. So maybe they'll move it to a catch weight later in the week, but this being at 155 doesn't make a ton of sense to me. But yeah, I think it's a good matchup for him as long as he's coming in here, good, ready to go, prepared, somewhat prepared for this fight. think it's a good matchup for him. I mean, Jalin Turner's super dangerous, going to be just so much bigger. He's going to look like a weight class or two bigger than Bobby Green here. Jalin Turner's dangerous wherever the fight goes, and I think Bobby Green's kind of hands down low, his hands low style is going to give him some problems here. We saw in the Drew Dober fight, Bobby Green was having a lot of success, but at some point he got caught against Drew Dober. Kind of see the same thing happening here. I mean, you can't eat, these flush punches against these guys like Jalin Turner, especially. He was getting pieced up by Jared Gordon as well. I just see Jalin Turner hurting Bobby Green at some point in this fight, either knocking him out or getting a club and sub. But the scales are going to be something I look at here for this one. We got Jalin Turner coming in here, short notice, and he's one of the biggest favorites on the card. I think 4th or 5th biggest here. Weezy, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, so short notice for Turner has got to be concerning, right? Because in a guy like Green, you get a guy with great cardio who's very experienced, who's fought basically the entire division. So, he's seen it all, has Green. Green finishes fights very strong. He's got excellent conditioning and excellent output. Turner coming in on short notice, and this is going to be a brutal weight cut for him, right? Because before the Hooker fight, Turner was talking about, I'm going to put muscle on my frame. And people are like, what? But what Jalin was saying was that he had an easy time making 155. It wasn't a bad cut for him, so that he felt safe putting muscle on his frame that he'd still be able to make that cut. We saw he couldn't make it last time on a full camp, right? So this is concerning. This guy's going to try to make 156 pounds on a week's notice and fight a veteran in Bobby Green. There's a couple other things about Turner that I don't like. The takedown defense. I mean, he's getting taken down and controlled by a lot of guys. And 42% distance striking defense is bad, bad, bad. That's really bad. With such a big body, there's a lot of targets on this guy that are open to hit. So I just worry about laying the juice on Turner here. I mean, should he be better everywhere? Yes. Should he be way more dangerous everywhere? Yes. He's almost 10 years younger than this guy, too. He's 5 inches taller, 6-inch reach advantage, and he's fought really good competition at the UFC level, too. So, yeah, I mean, it's hard to pick against Turner here, but it's also very hard to lay the juice knowing that this guy's got 42% takedown defense, knowing that this guy's going to have a very brutal weight cut, knowing that he's taking the fight on short notice against a guy with very good conditioning, who's very experienced, and who's got very accurate and powerful striking right now. So I would be very hesitant to lay the juice on Jalin Turner, who's one of my favorite fighters of all time.
Yeah, I mean, I think you got to wait for the weigh-ins if you're considering laying minus 250 on Turner, but that's probably not something you should do to begin with because Bobby Green's no bum. I mean, Bobby Green's really good. He pulled off that big upset against Dustin his last time out, submitted Tony Ferguson, that still makes no sense to me. Like, Tony Ferguson went 3 rounds with Beneil Dariush and Charles Oliveira, but gets submitted by Bobby Green. It just doesn't make sense sometimes. But
wasn't it like in the last 10 seconds of the fight that he got submitted too? Like, why Tony would rather die than get submitted, and then he taps to a guillotine with less than 10 seconds left in the fight? I mean, I'll bet there's a ton of people who are like, I'm taking Bobby Green by decision. Nobody finishes Tony Ferguson, and then he gets a finish. It's a wild sport that we bet on, dude.
No, I mean, I bet Bobby Green 2nd and 3rd round knockout. So I felt like a jackass. Yeah, should have
been there. We've been there.
All right, we got so the over/under is set at 1.5. The over 1.5 is minus 185. The under 1.5 is plus 155. Another one of these under 1.5 or 1.5 totals that I'm not too happy with. I don't know, dude. What do you think?
Oh shit! I didn't even update this. I've got
You got 2.5.
Well, I'm looking at my prop template, but I've still got Dan Hooker on it. I don't have Jalin Turner on it. So I was looking at it, and if I bet it, I'd bet the under, dude. Not like I think Green's gonna finish Turner in the first round and a half, but you never know. But Turner is just, this guy, he hits so hard. And if you shoot in sloppy, the guy's got freakishly long arms. He can get chokes that 90% of the division would be completely unable to even get close on. So, Turner's just so dangerous. I don't think under 1.5 at plus 155 is that bad of an idea, dude.
Yeah. I'd rather have a 2.5, but yeah, I think I lean that way as well. All right. So next we have the main event. If you guys have not already, be sure to like the video. It does go a long way. Also subscribe here to Pub Sports Radio, and then also be sure to check out the Pub Sports Radio weekly Pick'ems contest. 100% free to enter. $100 to the winner week in and week out. Go to pubsportsradio.com and then just go to contest there. All right. Main event time, we have Beneil Dariush going against Arman Tsaruykan. We got Dariush, he's 34 years old, 5'10" with a 72-inch reach. Arman Tsaruykan, 27 years old, 5'7" with a 72-inch reach. We got Tsarukyan, 7 years younger. He's going to be at a 3-inch height disadvantage, and they're going to have the same reach there. Beneil Dariush, 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Knockout win against Scott Holtzman. Decision win against Carlos Diego Ferreira. Decision win against Tony Ferguson, and then Mateus Gamrot, and then a knockout loss to Charles Oliveira. As far as Arman Tsaruykan, 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Knockout win against Christos Giagos. Knockout win against Joe Alvarez. A decision loss to Mateus Gamrot. And then he had a decision win against Damir Ismagulov. And then a knockout win against Joaquim Silva his last time out. 5 rounds here. I think this is Dariush's first 5-round main event in the UFC. I think this is going to be Tsarukyan's second 5-round main event in the UFC. We saw Tsarukyan go 5 rounds against Mateus Gamrot. Lost the decision, but a very competitive fight here. It should be an interesting fight here, main event. What do you think about this one?
Yeah, very good fight. Beneil Dariush is one of these guys that I wouldn't be surprised to find out he was lying about his age. You know, the dude had gray hair in his mid-20s, you know, so he's always looked old. But, you know, Beneil's still only 34 and a half. So it's not like this guy's, you know, he looks old, but, you know, the number on paper says that this guy's got a lot of career left, right? But Arman Tsarukyan's only 27, Brady. I mean, this guy, we've seen him make his debut against Islam Makhachev. He's fought really good competition. Add up the guys that Tsarukyan has fought in the UFC, 57 wins, 30 losses, and that's in 9 fights. So the average record of a guy that he's fighting is 6.33 wins, 3.33 losses. So the guy's fighting excellent levels of competition, as is Dariush. But, you know, the market just keeps getting Beneil Dariush wrong. You know, Beneil was a plus 170 underdog to Mateus Gamrot. I remember being the only one that was on Beneil that week, you know, and as a matter of fact, like everybody was on Gamrot to the point where like it scared me off of betting Beneil because I didn't know what I was missing. But Beneil made that one look fairly easy. He got a good win there over Gamrot, and then they made him a massive favorite or not a favorite against Charles Oliveira, the former champion. And I remember making Oliveira my ass shaving of the week. I said he was going to finish him inside the distance. It's exactly what he did. So, and now here we go again with Beneil Dariush, a massive underdog to a guy in Arman Tsarukyan who lost to Mateus Gamrot, who Beneil Dariush just beat. So I don't know. I mean, like it seems like the market just gets this wrong over and over and over again. But yes, Tsarukyan's very explosive. Yes, he's 7.5 years younger, right? But Beneil is taller. He's more experienced. He's got way more UFC level experience. Beneil's the better submission grappler. I mean, this guy was world level Brazilian jiu-jitsu competitor 10, 15 years ago, right? Beneil Dariush has got a positive 1.03 striking differential in the UFC at distance with 43% accuracy and 63.5% defense. I just don't understand this line. Where is Tsarukyan that much better than Beneil Dariush? Anywhere. Experience, that's Dariush, both overall and at the UFC level. Height, Dariush. Finishing numbers at the UFC level. Very close for both of them, but Dariush better overall and in the UFC. Beneil Dariush's distance striking numbers are very, very good. A little bit more powerful than Arman Tsarukyan. And the wrestling and grappling, I think Beneil Dariush is the superior wrestler and grappler. And he's fought very good competition, much more experienced competition than Tsarukyan has at the UFC level. So I think a Dariush bet is a good system play here. I think that this is going to be a very close fight. I think that these guys are very well matched, but the line is telling you that one of these guys is going to win the fight 70% of the time. I don't agree with the line.
Yeah, I don't really either, but I think some of the advantages Tsarukyan has is really not in the stats. Like I think Tsarukyan's much more durable. Like when we talk about Dariush, we always worry about the durability. I think Dariush has 5 losses in the UFC. 4 of them come inside the distance. So I mean the durability, and
All
then
5 of them do.
yeah, he gets finished. Didn't he lose a decision to what's his face? Let me see.
I've got it as 4 knockouts and a submission in his 5 losses.
Evan Dun. Oh, the Dunham loss. Oh, Dunham was a draw. The Dunham was a draw. So yeah, you're
Oh, he's
right.
draw.
Um,
Okay.
yep, all 5. So I mean, yeah. So durability, that's not
Definitely. Yes.
great.
Yes.
And then
Agreed.
I kind of worry about the cardio as well. So,
Okay.
but yeah,
That's
other
fair.
than that, other than that, I feel like they're pretty well matched. But other than that, and then the age as well. But yeah, I mean, this line's kind of gotten away, man. Tsarukyan on DraftKings Sportsbook, they opened up Tsarukyan, I think, at a pick'em, like -110, something stupid. The line
Wow.
was gone like in a couple of minutes, but yeah, they opened up at like -110. I know a couple of people that got on that. -280 now. Like I feel we're disrespecting Beneil Dariush a little bit. I mean, +240 for Beneil Dariush. Yeah, this line's a little bit too wide. I do like Tsarukyan to win, but -280, it's a little rough there. And I think he potentially finished Dariush as well down the stretch. The over under set at 3.5 rounds, the over 3.5 -130. The under 3.5 +100. Any thoughts on the total? And then, yeah, I think we're both in agreement that the line's a little bit wide here.
Yeah, no real thoughts on the total here, but I mean, I think you never really can go wrong betting unders in Beneil Dariush fights.
Yeah.
You know, his fights finish a lot, so nothing wrong with doing that. And you know, do you remember Beneil Dariush scrambling against Gamrot?
Oh, yeah, of course.
I mean, wow,
Beautiful.
right? You know, like he and Gamrot's a phenomenal scrambler. Gamrot out scrambled a Tsarukyan, and we just saw Beneil out scramble Mateus. So I just, you know, you don't want to be making decisions solely based on MMA math, of course, but I just think that at plus 225 right now, I mean, this is the kind of thing that, you know, it's about the number, you guys. And I think that the number is telling you to bet Dariush here. And I think you might be surprised how good he can do early. And also, if you make that bet, Brady, what happens? If he wins the first couple of rounds, you're a little bit nervous about the conditioning. Now you can arb out and guarantee yourself a profit with Beneil maybe being minus 200 on the money line if he wins these first couple of rounds, which I think he can.
Yeah, I'm curious where this line goes. I saw it about a week ago at like -1, like 200. And I was like, okay, but -280 now. So wonder where it's gonna go.
Jeez. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's wide, but I get
Yeah.
it though. I mean, like Tsarukyan's phenomenal. He's
Mm-hmm.
27 years old. So like we could still see him getting even better, you know? So that's scary. And if he does come out here looking like he learned lessons from that Gamrot fight, he made improvements going forward from that fight. Yeah, then he might actually just wipe the floor with Dariush in all areas of this fight, whether it's in the clinch, at distance, or on the mat. But I still think there are going to be very few fighters who can style on Beneil Dariush on the mat that are in the UFC right now.
Yeah, Mushroom says MMA math does not work, nor does MMA meth. Ask Molly but can't.
Yeah, and I mean that's a great public service announcement from our guy Mushroom. Ladies and gentlemen, don't do meth. It's terrible for you. It's gonna rot your teeth. It's just a bad thing. Please don't do meth.
Yep. Try not to do it, guys. Try not to do it. All right, Weezy, we did it. We went through all 13 fights. Kind of flew by some of these. Yeah, it's a solid card. Solid card. Next week's card is a dumpster fire, like an absolute dumpster fire, like terrible. And then we end the year with UFC 296, Colby Covington, Leon Edwards in that main event. So yeah, looking forward to end the year strong. Win some bets on the way out. It's been a great year thus far. And yeah, Weezy, any final thoughts on the card? And then also, what are your plans for some content for this week?
No real final thoughts on the card. I have no bets yet, Brady. I'm gonna wait and see where some of these props open up. But what I'm looking at right now, money line bets on potentially Beneil Dariush, Joe Solecki, and Jamie Lynn Horth. Those are the spots that are sticking out from a money line perspective. I'm thinking about parlaying the under 1.5 rounds for Brundage and Reese with the over 1.5 rounds for Solecki and Klose. And then for content, Brady, Tuesday night, 10 o'clock Central Time, just a tip with me, your host, Uncle Weezy, on my YouTube channel. Ask Weezy on Wednesday night, 10 o'clock Central Time, and then 8 o'clock Central Time, right here on Pub Sports Radio for the DFS show. Only thing left to do, stack cash tickets like flapjacks for UFC Austin and keep this winning streak going.
Let's do it. Looking forward to it. Looking forward to being back here. Yeah, I should be getting out my full card breakdown prediction video maybe tomorrow or Tuesday. I'm going to do a main event breakdown as well. And then you have the live streams Friday and Saturday as always. Thank you all so much for hanging out. If you guys could leave a like on your way out, subscribe here to Pub Sports Radio, and best of luck for UFC Austin. See you guys later.